Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging into, well, a really pervasive topic. It touches everything, doesn't it? From our personal chats to huge global events.
It really does. We're talking about what Dr. Jose Antonio Cisneros calls the empire of lies.
The empire of lies. It sounds dramatic, but maybe it's accurate.
I think it captures something important. What used to be maybe a small personal act of trying to persuade someone has just exploded. It's become this huge normalized force that's actually shaping how we see the world.
And we'll be digging into Dr. Cisneros' reflections on this, right?
Yeah.
Especially his thoughts on the whole disinformation industry now.
Exactly. Fake news for clicks, political gain, even health manipulation. And he really stresses the economic or sometimes, quote, perverse motives behind it all.
Okay, so our mission today is to really unpack this.
Mm.
How did this empire grow? What's driving it? And crucially for you listening, what tools can help you navigate this information overload?
Yeah, how do you sort fact from fiction? How do you spot when someone's trying to sell you a completely different reality?
We want to equip you with some practical ways to think about that.
And Dr. Cisneros has this great line. One has the right to their own opinions, but not the right to fabricate their own data.
Ooh, that's sharp.
It really is. It cuts right to it, doesn't it? Especially now when data is so easily twisted. We're not just talking about different viewpoints anymore.
It's about losing a shared reality.
Right. Which, as he points out, can lead to chaos, a real lack of awareness about what's actually happening.
Okay, so let's start unpacking. Dr. Cisneros points out that lying itself, well, it's not new. It's practically innate, maybe.
He uses that classic example, a kid with chocolate all over their face, saying, nope, didn't eat the cookie.
We've all been there or seen it. So what's the leap from that everyday little fib to this huge empire of lies?
Well, that's where he makes a really useful distinction. He talks about benevolent lies, the white lies.
Like telling your partner their new haircut looks great, even if maybe you're not so sure.
Exactly. Or saying someone doesn't look heavy to spare their feelings, even if the scale tells a different story. It's about social coexistence, right? Perception, not objective data. Keeping the peace in small ways.
Okay, so it's about intent and scale, because this empire isn't about those little social graces,
No, definitely not. It's built on what he calls the bad lies.
the ones told with malicious intent.
Precisely. Lies designed to harm people or groups. To grab power, defraud someone, get an unfair advantage. That's when it shifts from a personal thing to something much bigger.
And much more dangerous. It's actively twisting the truth, not just managing perceptions.
Right. So if these bad lies are out there and they're dangerous, the big question is, how do you spot them? What can you actually do?
Especially in, say, a one-on-one conversation. Does Dr. Cisneros offer practical tips?
He does, and some are quite clever, actually.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. One strategy he mentions, apparently used by police, it's about re-questioning, or kind of confusing the story.
Yeah, tell me more about that one.
Well, the idea is simple. Ask the person to tell their story again, but maybe backwards, or from a different starting point.
Yeah, okay.
If they're lying, they've probably memorized a script. So they'll either repeat it word for word, which is suspicious in itself,
Right, too perfect.
or they'll get tripped up. They'll contradict themselves because they're having to invent details on the fly, and keeping a complex lie consistent is really hard work mentally.
Whereas someone telling the truth.
They just recall it. It's memory, not invention. The details stay solid no matter how you ask. It's about the cognitive load. Lying takes effort.
That makes a lot of sense. And another tool he emphasizes is questioning the source, like really questioning it.
So if someone tells you something totally wild,
Your first reaction should be, okay, where did you hear that? Or who told you? Is the source credible? Authoritative? Or just some random post they saw?
he uses that example of a miracle cancer cure, right? If the major news outlets, the scientific journals, aren't talking about it, but it's blowing up on social media,
You should be very skeptical. Check the source. Always check the source. Especially now with deep fakes and manipulated images. You can't just trust what you see or hear immediately.
and then there's the body itself. The biological side,
Mhm.
lie detectors, polygraphs.
Right, the classic image.
They basically work by detecting stress, don't they? When you're making stuff up, especially under pressure.
Your brain's working overtime.
Yeah, exactly. And that triggers physiological stress responses, tiny changes in sweat, heart rate, breathing.
Which the machine picks up. Your body kind of betrays the lie.
It's harder to keep the cool facade going when you're internally stressed.
And while someone really trained might try to beat it by controlling their emotions,
Yeah.
modern polygraphs are way more sophisticated. They measure lots of things at once: breathing, skin conductivity, maybe even subtle brain patterns. It makes it much harder to fool.
Still mainly for individual situations, though, right? Not for analyzing whole societies.
Oh, absolutely. These are tools for personal interactions, primarily. But they illustrate that fundamental link between lying and physiological stress.
Okay, so that covers the personal level. But this empire of lies, it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
What happens when we scale up, when lies spread through whole societies?
That's where Dr. Cisneros warns it gets incredibly dangerous. When false information makes large groups turn violent, for instance.
Because they're acting on, well, on things that aren't real.
Exactly. Lies affecting huge numbers of people cause, as he puts it, great misfortunes. And think about governing. If you're trying to run a country without accurate data,
It's like driving blind.
he says it's like driving without lights and with a dirty windshield. Extremely risky, almost suicidal for a nation.
He mentions Hitler's bunker in WWII, right? Still planning attacks with armies that didn't exist anymore.
Yeah, a terrifying example of a command structure completely cut off from reality. Because making policy based on fantasy, it just leads to disaster. Economic ruin, social collapse, military defeat. It all depends on good data.
Historically, empires knew this.
Mhm.
They relied on intelligence services for accurate information.
But the moment a regime starts believing its own propaganda, making up its own facts,
Disaster's pretty much guaranteed. Policies based on nothing real. Dr. Cisneros calls that stupidity, basically. Actions detached from reality.
which leads us to how powerful regimes, especially tyrannies, try to control the information flow to maintain their fabricated reality.
Right, because they need to control it.
Traditionally, journalism played a key role here, the ideal anyway, providing verified information, often at great personal risk.
Like war correspondents on the front lines.
Exactly. In a functioning democracy, journalism is sometimes called the fifth power, right? It's supposed to be a check on government, keeping the public informed so they can make actual choices.
Without it, people are just voting blind, based on emotion or spin.
Precisely. It undermines the whole democratic process.
Okay, so Dr. Cisneros outlines 3 main ways regimes control information. What's the first?
The first is the most direct and brutal. We've seen it in dictatorships throughout history, and sadly, still see it. Stalin, Hitler, more recently Cuba, Venezuela.
Imprisoning journalists, torture, even killing them.
Yes, silencing the messenger if they dare tell the truth. The message is clear. Keep quiet if you want to stay safe. It guarantees only the official story gets out.
Chilling. What's the second method?
It's more subtle, but just as effective. Economic pressure.
How does that work?
Regimes pressure media owners. They can revoke licenses, cut off supplies like newsprint or server access, bury them in lawsuits and fines.
Making it basically impossible to operate if you don't toe the line.
Exactly. It forces self-censorship. Media outlets stick to safe topics, fashion, sports, and avoid anything critical of the government. Independent reporting gets slowly strangled.
And the third method?
That's just outright propaganda. The state buys or creates its own media TV stations, newspapers, websites, and just floods the zone with pro-regime messages.
Like during the Cold War. Both sides blasting their version of reality.
It's not just about hiding the truth anymore. It's about overwhelming people with a manufactured one. Creating an official narrative, an alternative reality people live inside.
Which brings us to today. How has the internet, social media, changed this game? Especially the propaganda part.
Well, Dr. Cisneros argues it's introduced something new and incredibly powerful: the granular lie.
Granular lie. Okay, let's unpack that. What does that mean?
Unlike, say, a TV ad everyone sees, social media algorithms tailor messages specifically for you.
Right, based on your data.
Yeah. He uses himself as an example. He won't see ads for Harley-Davidsons because the algorithms know his age, maybe his health.
Instead, he gets ads for
Walking sticks, maybe electric tricycles. The system knows your demographic, your clicks, what you share, what angers you, what makes you happy.
It builds a psychological profile.
Exactly. And it uses that profile, specifically your pains and emotional triggers, to feed you messages, including lies that you're most likely to respond to.
Wow. So the lie is custom built for your vulnerabilities.
Precisely. It makes it incredibly hard to escape because it feels so relatable, so resonant with your feelings and beliefs. It's like a weaponized echo chamber.
Combining that intimate personal feel with mass broadcasting reach.
And this leads to that situation where people become absolutely convinced of things that just aren't true, or deny things that clearly happened.
We are deep in this empire of lies then. where decisions get made on, as he says, totally unreal bases.
And in the past, maybe the press or public debate could eventually correct some of this. But Dr. Cisneros warns the tools used now to implant these granular lies are so sophisticated, so targeted.
It's becoming impossible to change people's minds.
That's his fear. The sheer volume and personalization just overwhelm critical thinking.
He gives some stark examples, doesn't he? Like vaccine misinformation.
Yeah, or economic myths that persist despite all evidence. Or even people getting violent based on lies they read online.
And the historical parallels, too. The Nazi propaganda convincing kids they were winning right before the end.
Or people living near concentration camps claiming they knew nothing despite the smoke, the trains. It shows how powerful the need to believe a comforting lie can be, even when reality is staring you in the face.
It's not just being fooled. It's sometimes an active choice to ignore reality.
A resistance to uncomfortable truths.
Which leads to a really challenging thought for you listening right now. With AI now able to create fake faces, voices, entire fake personas, deep fakes, making it even harder to tell what's real. What's your responsibility?
How much do you need to question the stories you're told, especially the ones that feel perfectly tailored to you?
Dr. Cisneros puts it bluntly. Before you react with anger, with joy, whatever, just pause. Ask yourself, is this actually true?
Because the universe doesn't care about our wishes, right? Reality is what it is. Ignoring it, whether it's climate change or something else, doesn't make it go away.
It just lets the problem get worse.
Exactly.
So this empire of lies, it's not just politics or health. It's maybe a reflection of our own tendency to look away from hard truths if they don't affect us directly. We build our own little denial bubbles.
It seems like it. But Dr. Cisneros implies that just because we've always lied doesn't mean we're doomed to be ruled by lies. We can choose to be more vigilant.
So what's the main takeaway then?
For me, it's the absolute necessity of critical thinking. Constantly. In this flood of information, it's your best defense.
Verifying sources, questioning motives.
Yes, and being willing to face uncomfortable truths, even if they challenge your own beliefs. Resisting that urge to only care about what's in your immediate bubble.
Okay, a final thought then, for you to chew on. In this age of increasingly sophisticated manufactured reality, where does your personal line of responsibility fall?
How do you make sure your decisions are based on solid ground, on data, not just on a story that feels good but might be completely fake?
And what's the real cost to all of us if we don't keep asking those questions? Wow, that was a really deep dive into this empire of lies. Hopefully this conversation has given you some useful ways to think about navigating the information world today.
Yeah, remember, critical thinking, checking sources, a healthy dose of skepticism, those are your best tools. Stay curious, stay informed.
And stay vigilant.